I started doing metal work in college at San Francisco State University, and I fell in love with the tools and the projects that the students were making. The teacher, Dawn Nakanishi, was wonderful, and I knew that I immediately needed to take a class. I had been very affected by my upbringing as a granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. So a lot of the classes I was taking had to do with social change and why things happen the way they do and how we can create change in society. And one of the classes I was taking at the time was called Holocaust and Genocide. I decided to use my grandparents' story as my topic for the paper for the class. So every so often I would go down to Los Angeles and interview them and tape record them and learn more about their story. And at the same time as this was happening, I was taking that metal arts class. And so I would bring home little items to my grandparents, things that I had made in class. And that was when my grandfather took me into his workshop in his garage, and he shared with me all sorts of his hand tools. He had been a precision tool and die maker, and we'd never talked about his metalworking experience. He never taught me anything about it. But once I showed interest, he got all excited and created a green toolbox for me and filled it up with all sorts of tools that were really great to use. I would go from the Holocaust class to my metal arts class holding the toolbox full of his tools. In the meantime, that wonderful teacher I had in metal arts stopped me in my tracks, because every item I had made and was continuing to make had the symbol for peace on it. So she said, you know, this is a college class and I want you to learn how to express yourself without using a cliche. And she said, what is it about peace? Why is it that everything you make has the symbol for peace on it? And I looked at her and I got a little emotional and I said, well, because my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. And she said, there you go. So she encouraged me and she was supportive of me, and she said, I'm not going to accept this project that you want to make. I want you to take the weekend and think about it and come up with a new project. So I didn't know what I was going to do, and I molded over, and I suddenly had this idea that I would create mezuzahs, which are the case for a sacred prayer that goes at the doorpost. I had never made any items of Judaica before, but I knew that these needed to be unique. They weren't going to just be, you know, something a person does to follow the rules in Judaism. These pieces made a statement. And when I presented them to the class and explained to them about what they were, and I said, how could there be a God given the Holocaust? And I burst into tears in front of the class, and I never stopped making them.